What's going on, man? Welcome back to the basement. I'm Ron. I hope you guys all had a Merry Christmas, a Happy Holidays. Hope you guys spent time with your friends and family. I will say, Namath jersey behind me looks sick, but not mine or my present. I had a friend who was gifted the Namath jersey. He's not really even a Jets fan. He said instead of it collecting dust in his closet, he gifted it to me for the background of these videos. So lay your eyes on, the only franchise quarterback my Jets have ever had, Joe Namath, Broadway Joe, the man, the myth, the legend. Now, today, we're going to get into some waiver wire must-adds. We're going to go through 10 players, all like about under 50% owned in ESPN leagues. If you're watching this, I really, really appreciate it. You are one of the few that have made it this far to the championship of your fantasy football league. So we're going to go through some waiver wire ads here. Now, I will say at the top here, there's not going to be any stashing, right? There is no more, pick up this guy because in a few weeks he could be a breakout guy. At this point, we are picking up players that should be in play to start for you. So, with that being said, let's not waste any more time. If you enjoyed the video, make sure down below, subscribe, leave a like. Let's go.
Thirsty, trying to choose. I know I'm pretty cool. My nitty bag.
Now, I will say, fellas, I'm still dealing with a bit of an illness. I don't know what it is. It's just a cold. I tested for COVID, but it's rough. My voice has been a little bit scratchy. I've been congested, been coughing all over the place. So we're going to try and get through this video. I'm working through it for you guys. I will say because of that, I'm trying to take it easy this week. So I'm taking some time off tomorrow. I'll come back for Thursday to do rankings for the Patreon and do a rankings video. And then we'll probably do a live stream of some more like underdog playoff best ball, but try and take it a little bit easy here. Get back, to full health instead of, talking on a mic and screwing up my voice. Now, our first must add here. I also want to say, if you have Fab out there, don't be stingy with the Fab. Unless if you're in a league where like Fab rolls over or something, Fab, there's no reward for holding on to Fab or, whatever bidding dollars you're using. Everything you have left, even if it's for like the teensiest, tiniest, like to pick up a defensive streamer or kicker, use all of it. Get to $0 of Fab by Sunday because, you don't want to lose on the defense first kicker decision because somebody else outbid you. All of that, whether that's the guy in your championship or just like some idiots in your league. Now, the first player we'll talk about here is going to be Tyler Algier. And just to sort of touch on Tyler Algier right now, he is looking like a league winner, and it's very much why we target rookies, right? Tyler Algier, we're going to talk about Jahan Dotson in a little bit, but rookies backload their points. We know this. They start out slow, and then as the season goes on, they work into a bigger workload. So they're going to be the guys that you need to have on your roster to make it through the fantasy playoffs. So that's why we're always attacking these guys like Tyler Algier, the rookie wide receiver, even though some of them didn't pan out. Like Christian Watson was that guy until he got hurt. Garrett Wilson, of course. Now, Tyler Algier, lucky for you guys, is somebody that you didn't have to draft. You could have picked him up off waivers, and he's still on, I want to say 60% of waivers right now. And he put up another great week. He had 18 carries, 74 rushing yards. He also had a lot of volume through the air with 5 targets, 4 catches, 43 yards. He outsnapped Cordarrelle Patterson by the biggest margin yet. He outsnapped Cordarrelle Patterson 40-17, which is absolutely insane considering they've been at about an even split or like a 55-45 split in favor of Cordarrelle Patterson the entire year. He also outtouched him 22-9. So it does feel like the season's over. Let's see what the young guy has here. And they are kind of just handing the reins over to Desmond Ridder, Drake London, Tyler Algier. Let's see what we have in these rookies. Now, since the bye week, Algier has had a huge boost in his role. He is the RB8 in points per game over that span at 19.2 points per game. He is a top 30 player at running back. So if you are running a hero RB team or a zero RB team and you need a running back, whatever is left in your fab budget should be going towards Tyler Algier. Now, the rest of these running backs aren't as obvious. Like Tyler Algier, like I said, is a top 30, and I'm being conservative there. He's probably like a top 20 to top 30 play this week. Once we get to this next tier, these aren't must-start guys, but if you want to go out there and add them just so you can sort of have a choice, like a start-sit choice between this running back versus a running back who's already on your team, it's probably a good idea. And on top of that, some of these guys, you can also be a little bit offensive where, say you don't even need any of these players. Say you don't even need Tyler Algier, but the guy in your championship needs Tyler Algier. His running backs suck, and you have like $100 more of fab. It's a little bit slimy, but go out there, spend $100 more than he can on Tyler Algier just to sit pretty on your bench so he can't start him in the championship game. So start to sort of think about those moves. Like, it's not, of course it's fantasy football. It's not like 3D chess here, but, look through those. Like, if you're just sitting pretty on the waivers, you have nobody you need to add, maybe you should look at the guy who you're playing against. Who does he need to add? And then from there, you can kind of try and galaxy brain a way for you to use the rest of your fab and hurt your opponent. Now, the next guy we'll talk about is Chuba Hubbard. And he put up 12.5 points, a crazy 12.5 points where he had 12 carries for 125 yards. This game between the Lions and the Panthers was very weird. The Lions couldn't stop the run at all, and like all of the Panthers running backs got home. Now, Chuba Hubbard is still the secondary option behind Deonta Foreman, but he's the RB17 in points per game since the Panthers bye week, which I believe was like week 13, week 14. He's not a instant start this week, but because of the usage and the efficiency this running game has had, right? The Panthers as a team are kind of hot right now. I think since they fired Matt Rule, they've been like 4-1. Sam Darnold has been playing well. They've been hot. Maybe they get hot against the Bucs, but it is a tough matchup there. So he's not a must start like Algier, but he is somebody that could slot into your lineup if you're that down bad at running back. After that, we have somebody in like the same tier as Hubbard, James Cook. And he is coming off a career high, 17.8 PPR points in Week 16. And this is really nice to see, where his usage is finally at a 60-40 split with Singletary. He's no longer really splitting a ton of snaps or touches with Nyheim Hines or Zach Moss like earlier in the year. He is the secondary back with a lot of juice here, and that's kind of what his role was in college. He was never going to be a 20-touch-per-game guy. He is someone where you give him 12 touches, 11 touches, 10 touches, and he'll make the most out of that. He has been the RB21 in points per game over that last 4-week span at 12.2 points per game, and I would have him as like a boom-bust RB3 option in what could be a shootout between the Bills and the Bengals, but it's worth noting the Bengals defense has been very good against the run this season. Now, speaking of Bills running backs, we also have Zach Moss, or ex-Bill running back. You can still see, I believe that's still the Bills jersey on him in that picture. And this one's tough because there's no JT on this Colts team, so there's going to be running back volume to go around. This team, their offensive coordinator, who has never called plays before, has actually been pretty decent, where I don't really know about play design and the X's and O's, but at the very least I know that he is playing with tempo, right? He's getting to the line, playing with tempo, even while they're running the ball, which is really interesting, where they're a run-leading team, but they're also playing with tempo, getting to the line, running no huddle. Like, they're not chewing the clock perpetually and running the ball, which is interesting. The issue is we're yet to see 10-plus PPR points from any Colts running back since the Jonathan Taylor injury. So there's volume to go around, but the offense has been so bad with, Nick Foles. Last night was absolutely atrocious. You had before that, Matt Ryan wasn't much better. Same thing with Sam Ehlinger. So there might not be points to go around, but again, if you're down bad, Zach Moss to me is like a fringe RB3 option to me on pure volume alone. I believe they're playing not the Packers. I believe they're playing Washington. I could be wrong though. Let me see real quick. Let me see Colts matchup this week. But I do believe that they are playing. Oh, they're playing against New York. They're playing against New York. That's a good defense. They blitz a ton. So I don't really have any lean with that matchup. But again, if you're going to invest in Zach Moss or believe in him, it is just a volume thing. Maybe he falls into the end zone for you on 15 touches. That's very much in the range of outcomes. Now, the last running back we'll talk about today is a Galaxy brain play. Hassan Haskins. Right now, the best way I can explain this week 17 game does not matter for the Titans. They're not in the hunt for the wild card at this point. It is them versus the Jaguars for the division. If they lose this week and the Jaguars win this week, it still comes down to Jaguars versus Titans in Week 18. Whoever wins that game wins the division. So regardless of what happens this week, the Titans just need to beat the Jaguars in Week 18 to make it. So maybe on a short week, on a Thursday night game against Dallas, which is a pretty brutal front seven, maybe they don't want to slam their best player between the tackles 30 times, 25 times, when the most important game of their season is that following week. Now, Mike Vrabel, Derrick Henry, both very much, football guys, high testosterone. So they might just say, you know what, run him out there, play him. But this is a spot where if they sit Derrick Henry, Hassan Haskins would probably be like a fringe top 30-ish type running back play. It'd be a gamble. It's going to be a really good defense in the Dallas Cowboys. But he is a guy who, I'm not going to say he looks like Derrick Henry, but he's a bigger back, like kind of in the same way of like Deonta Foreman fitting that Derrick Henry role last year. He is like 6'2", 230 pounds. He's a big boy. Production wasn't really there at Michigan. He doesn't have any combine stats here. He's essentially just a big body. I also really do like Julius Chestnut, but it seems like they favored Hassan Haskins this year, so that would be like I can't imagine a spot where I'd ever be starting Julius Chestnut in Week 17 without ever seeing him like have a lead role. So again, Hassan Haskins would be a huge risk, but again, if Derrick Henry sits in this Thursday night game, you could do worse than Hassan Haskins. Now, moving on to the wide receivers, we'll talk through Jahan Dotson here. And he has been the wide receiver 11 in points per game over the last 4 weeks at 18.8 points per game. We can see that right here, where against the Giants, 16.4, against the Giants again, 20.5, against the 49ers, 19.6. Now, he does have a touchdown in all of these, but unlike earlier in the year, where if you look earlier, it's like 2 touchdowns and 40 yards, a touchdown and 59 yards, a touchdown and 43 yards. This time around, he's actually catching a lot of passes and having a lot of yards. Like this time, the first one looked like old Jahan Dotson, 5 catches, 54 yards and a touchdown, but 4 for 105 and a touchdown, 6 for 76 and a touchdown, all showing progression here. And again, we talked about this with Tyler Algier. We'll talk about it with Jahan Dotson. Rookie players backload their points, and they often become league winners. Jahan Dotson is profiling as exactly that at this point. Through the first 2 weeks of the playoffs, he has given you 20 points per game. He plays against the Browns this week, which isn't super ideal. And it's a slight bummer because I think Taylor Heineke got subbed out, so now we have Carson Wentz in here, another quarterback change. So there's a lot of things up in the air, but I think you could do a lot worse. I think he's a nice high-ceiling flex play this week who could, deliver another 15-plus point game just riding this hot streak. After that, we have DJ Chark because the Lions have just been very conservative with getting Jamison Williams into the lineup. And for that reason, I feel comfortable having DJ Chark on this list. Now, if you just sort of look past the Week 15 game against the Jets, which is, him playing against Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed on the outside, of course he's not going to have a good game. But outside of that, he's been at 14-plus PPR points in 3 of his last 4. He's a high ADOT guy, which means if he catches, like in this past game, he caught 4 passes for 108 yards. He just has to catch 3 or 4 passes. Maybe he sneaks into the end zone, and he'll give you a nice score for fantasy. And I absolutely love this environment this week. The Detroit Lions versus the Bears. It's hilarious because before the season, that was super ugly on paper. But it's going to be in Detroit, in that dome. Justin Fields on one side, Jared Goff and this Detroit Lions offense on the other. It should be fireworks. So I like DJ Chark. Now, after that, and I believe this is our last wide receiver, Romeo Doubs here. Romeo Doubs. And this is a familiar name. He was somebody that we were pounding the table for, at him off waivers in the beginning of the year. He was really good, and then he got hurt. And now he has an opportunity to get back to where he was like a startable wide receiver 3 every week, because we have Romeo Doubs, like a few weeks returned from his injury, and now Christian Watson has an injury. And Christian Watson's injury luck this year has been absolutely brutal. I think they've all been different. I think it's been like a rib, a concussion, a shoulder, and now a hip flexor. And this is Edwin Porras, one of the guys that I really trust on Twitter. He says Christian Watson's a hip flexor injury, depends on severity, but not good. He was ruled out of the game. Highly volatile if active. It seems like he probably won't play, and if he does play, he probably won't be the starting wide receiver in 2 wide receiver sets. I believe that'll be Romeo Doubs, and I like him as a fine flex play this week. In this offense, they're a team that was clicking against Miami. They're a team that is still alive for playoff hope, so they're going to play their best ball at home against the Vikings, who have a really soft secondary. So there's a lot of things adding up here. Must-win game for Aaron Rodgers at home. If Christian Watson is limited or can't go, Romeo Doubs is a really, really nice start this week for anybody out there that needs to sort of buy a flex off waivers. After that, we have Tyler Conklin. We're moving to sort of tight end quarterback here if you need a streamer. And Tyler Conklin is pretty simple, the calculus here. He's running a good chunk of the routes every single week. He gets Mike White back, which is huge for all the pass-catching options in this offense, and he's playing in Seattle against a Seahawks defense that is allowing the most points to tight ends in fantasy. So that's a really, really solid spot there. And then we have a quarterback streamer, my quarterback streamer of the week. Quarterback matters a ton in this final week. You can't go out there and start, a Carson Wentz and eat like a 0 or 3 or 5 point game. Go out there. If you need a quarterback in Jared Goff or Daniel Jones is on waivers, go out there, spend the rest of your fab budget so you can field like a 20-plus point game from a quarterback. Like we were talking about earlier with DJ Chark, Goff gets a shootout against Justin Fields in that cozy Detroit dome, and Jared Goff is hot right now. He has 20-plus points in 3 of his last 4 games. He's at home here versus a soft defense and an offense on the other side that can keep up with this Lions offense. So perfect there. I also like Daniel Jones, and if both of those guys are rostered in your leagues, because they're going to be rostered in most leagues, I like Gardner Minshew and Brock Purdy. So those are my quarterback streamers for this week if you're a guy who's sort of been, playing the waivers at quarterback. Now, that is going to do it for us today. I appreciate if you guys are watching. We're week 17. I know most people at this point have been knocked out of their playoffs, so if you're still rocking with us, let me know down below if you're in the championship, how your team is looking, what players kind of got you to the championship, sort of how I played in this whole thing. If you drafted a player because like I liked him or I told you so, let me know. I'm always curious to kind of hear about your teams and how you guys are doing in the playoffs. Currently, right now, I'm actually running super hot in terms of playoffs. I'm alive I've already won first and second in 2 high stakes leagues that have like a week 1 through 14. I'm alive to win. Like I'm in first place through week 15, week 16 in a high stakes league. I just have to hold on for another week 17. I have 3 teams in the top 100 overall scoring in tournaments right now, so those are live for like the big top prizes. And I'm also in the final of my home league for the first time since like 2018, 2019. So that's really cool. I'm also in like 4 dynasty finals, so got really, really lucky on the managed side of things this year. Hope you guys also are running hot. Can't say the same about my best ball teams, but you win and you lose some. So with that being said, I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.
I got the juice, I got the juice.
Channel, Chatham's on. Foolies glad I'm home. Even my haters kinda glad I'm on. Rest in peace to my vagabond. Rapper song, singer, suspended, subpoena from Mr. Mean.